That'll be a war with your kids. Someplace along the
I don't know what I'll do with it.
Here's Jack in a box. He's come to the party.
How are you?
Slips a pine box for the mountain scene.
Pine trees.
She ate half my breakfast. Oh man, and then I went back and got a scone. Like, that's Grandpa Jack in the box. So that's Grammy Alice. You didn't know Grammy Alice. You're going to share right with me on Monday.
Ouch.
I'm apparently officiating this little shindig, and because Dad wanted us to gather, to be together, and to have a party, and to celebrate, not particularly mourn, and as you'll hear, he collected things about being agnostic, and in true Jack fashion, we found it all, and we will be sharing that with you. And we hope that if you have a minute or a memory that you can share as well here. And so, with that said, I just would like to start this out with just a little piece. If I should die and leave you here a while, be not like others, sore undone, who keep long vigils by the silent dust and weep. For my sake, turn again to life and smile, nerving thy heart and trembling hand to do something to comfort other hearts than thine. Complete these unfinished tasks of mine, and I perchance may therein comfort you. So Dad's sending us on his way. Sending us on our way to be there for each other, to comfort each other, and to take care of each other. And I could say a little bit about my recollection of these last, well, a little bit of the life of Dad. But as we know, he was a character. And people have said to me, well, if you're any example, he must have been a hell of a character. So I'm going, is that really a good thing? Because I know what a character and the breadth of Dad's character. It wasn't always an easy one. He had his moments, his highs, and he had his tough spots. But the last 3 years really showed me a different part of Dad, and we were really lucky to have it. I should have some water nearby. Could I have some water? I promise, no cooties. So here's a tip. You cannot cry and drink at the same time. Anything. So if there were wine that...
You would definitely not be crying.
Yeah, you would definitely not be crying. So one thing I can say about Dad is that he did it his way the whole way. And the last 3 years, and this is a lesson to all of us that we can take home on this, is that he was a control freak. You all remember that part, right? But his interpretation of being a control freak, his way, was to be active decision making. He decided that he was going to move to Colorado to be closer to us. He decided to give up the car. We didn't have any discussion. We didn't have any fight about it. It was him who drove that engine of that change. He was realistic. He faced it. He knew where he needed to be, and he got himself there with our help. But it was a very sweet time, and he relinquished control of finances to my brother, medicine to me. By letting go, he stayed in control. And I think that's maybe the biggest lesson, is that you can let go and still be in control. And it created grace and style and a connection to him that would never have happened had he held tight and not let go and let us be there for him. So I think that's the lesson I want Amy to remind me of when, right? I tasked her with this for about 30 years from now. And so I just, I love you all. I know Dad loved you all. He didn't always have easy ways of saying it or showing it. And he's so glad we're all here together. And I'll read something in a little bit, but if you wanted to.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. We're so happy you're here. And I spent the last year with him 24/7. And I learned a lot about getting old gracefully from him. And I wanted to pass those tips along. One of them is smile a lot. Have a good sense of humor. Go with the flow. And be happy. Be pleasant. Because the people that are showing up for you, they kind of have to be there because it's their job to be there. But man, you can make it a lot nicer for them if you are fun, funny, kind, and interested in them. And that's what he did for all of us who were with him this last year. And one thing, being raised a Mainer, I had to learn how to say I love you. It wasn't something we said in our family. I actually had to go to a shrink because it just wasn't something that was said. And Judy went a long way in teaching Dad to say I love you after a phone call. So we'd call Dad and we'd say, love you, and he'd say, love you. And I just want to say that the last day of his life, a lot of people came by and a lot of people called, and there were a lot of I love yous on both sides. So he was conscious to the end and full of knowing that all of us were there for him and loved him and that he had been there for us all our lives. So another thing, he would continually give me medals of honor. You've earned a Medal of Honor today for showing up above and beyond the call of duty. I can't tell you how many medals I have.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you gave them to Randy and I. Just saying.
Well, I was there on the...
I heard that.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is, take care of your teeth.
Yes.
Okay?
You have no idea.
Because you get to be 95 years old and you don't have teeth that work, it's really a drag. And it was really the plague of his life was his teeth because, they didn't work. So that's the other piece of advice I want to give you. And let's see. Let's see, what else? Randy, do you have anything to say?
Oh, I probably won't be as loquacious as these two, but the funny story that as Dad was really on his deathbed, the day before he died, one of his caregivers came in and said, "Goodbye, Jack, I'm going to miss you." And he said, "Where are you going?"
No kidding. And she said, "Minnesota." He goes, "Minnesota."
Anyway, my whole life I think I really measured myself against Dad. He was the standard. And I think he won in most regards, but I'm a better golfer. I won that one. If I can live as long and as gracefully as he did to the end, that'll be another standard to live up to. So anyway, he was quite a guy, and you're right. We had a really good 3 or 4 years that if he hadn't decided to do it, we wouldn't have had. I mean, I saw him 3 or 4 or 5 times a week all through that period. And he and I, in some ways, had things to talk about, like hunting and golf and all of that. And Connie would say, you know, you and Randy really get to have quite a conversation. And he said, yeah, we grew up together. And, you know, you think back, I mean, he was 23 when I was born. And so we sort of did grow up together. Anyway, it was a good run. He was a great dad, and he lived a good life.
Didn't get any better than that.
And it was such teamwork between the 3 of us to see him through this last year. It was really amazing. Randy would come and sit for an hour and just talk about the same thing because his short-term memory was pretty shot.
Yeah,
So he'd ask the same things, and they'd talk about the same things in golf and in hunting. And I said, like, Dad, my goodness, you really show up when Randy shows up. And he said, yeah, we grew up together. So that was really sweet. So let's see. One other, I wrote all these Jackisms down as it unfolded, and he said something cool. So one thing, I've got 34 pages of it, so I'm not going to read it all. But lots of cool stories. But one thing, when I brought up the idea of collaborating with him on his obituary, he asked with a grin if it would be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I answered, no doubt about it. Anyway, and he would always sing a song. Whenever something would come to his mind, he tiptoed through the tulips when we were walking out through and all sorts of other songs. Then his favorite refrain became, I'm tired and I want to go home. Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I had a little drink just an hour ago, and it went right to my head. Wherever I roam, on land or sea or foam, you'll hear me sing this song. Show me the way to go home. He actually sang that the last day. I sang it. He sang along with me. He was ready, and but his body wasn't ready. He was built to last. A Mercedes built to last, and he's like, why don't I just die and get it over with? And his body just said, no way, man, you took too good care of me. That's another lesson. You don't want to live too long.
Bypass operation.
Anyway, so that's about it. I mean, there's more things there, but so we want to read the.
I'll read this. He kept things about being an agnostic. And so this is a poem by C.E.S. Wood, and I will read this. And it's called The Agnostic. I sought God in the caverns of the ages, but they were empty. I pushed aside the tapestries of night and tore down rudely the star-shone auras of the years, yet found only desolation. I loosed my soul upon the backward path, but it was lost in the mists, and I was frightened by the silence. I stood upon the peaks of thought, and tried to pierce the clouds of being, but was dizzy with the infinite. I called into the impenetrable vacancy, and was not answered. I heard no voice. So, for him, this is it. But we thought a really sweet spot to, are you going to...
I'll do this.
Yeah, do this one, and then I'm going to ask Steve to close it
Oh,
off.
right. And he thought this was it, but he had the inkling that there might be 74 virgins waiting for him in the Islamic heaven. So he had some hope.
I think Alice would have been first, though.
So here's another thing on the agnostic. One who holds that the ultimate cause and the essential nature of things are unknown and are unknowable, or that human knowledge is limited to experience, asserting the uncertainty to all claims of knowledge. So that's the logical Jack Baxter, and he stayed there.
He wrote that one out by hand.
Yes, it's written by hand.
Yeah.
Which I think is a definition from a. But I said to him, Dad, you know, you used to be curious. You know, he said, well, that's over. I'm not curious anymore. I said, Dad, you used to, because I'm trying to open him up to the fact that maybe he'd start seeing people from the other side, that all this cool stuff that a lot of people, dying people do. But I didn't want to violate his parameters. I said, Dad, you know, you used to have some awe. He said, well, I don't have any more awe either. So I just said, Dad, well, if you just went back into that curiosity and that awe, you don't know what might happen. But I never did witness him talking to anybody from the other side or experiencing anything that would shift his belief that this is it. So we'll see. Big surprise, waiting for Jack over on the other side.
Yeah, it's probably still here right now, but anyway, so.
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
Like father, like son. So,
Steve, would you be so kind as to read that beautiful poem to send Jack off that he wrote?
I
that you
never
wrote?
imagined that I would do this at a graveside.
oh really?
Jack, I hope you appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I turned 70 a couple of years ago, and it really freaked me out. And I began to think about, things. So I call this approaching 70, the Bible, excuse me, Jack, says that that's the average life expectancy one would have. And it's also, this is also planning a great odyssey. Time for wills, powers of attorney, decisions. I've decided I'm going to be cremated. Have my ashes scattered around the state at some of my favorite places. I even bought an extra large aluminum salt shaker at a yard sale last summer, thinking of it nicely in a backpack so my kids or the grandkids or friends could take some of me to high and remote places, Tumble Down, Bigelow, Gulf Havens, and Catan. But I want to get down east too, West Quoddy Head and Rosy-Fingered Dawn, even Grand Manan at the Gorn, the Mill Pond at Cousin Bill's, Scooding, Acadia, and Monhegan out there in the wine dark sea. I love North Haven. Good dose of me there in the Kent Cove where I dug so many clams, and Mullen's Head where we ate them with Aunt Crew's god-awful home brew. Crabtree Point, the thoroughfare where we lived in that sweet old cape that started our family. And so many islands in Casco Bay we sailed to explore. And the rivers, I love the long trips and the wild rides. I didn't think we'd make it home when we dumped in the icy Carabasset or ran ancient canoes rips of an acre. Stair Falls, big black rapids, rhinestone rips, the howling trees. I guess it's a dumb idea. To really do it right, there wouldn't be enough for me to go around.
Yeah. So,
Does anyone else want to share a few words? Liz?
I want you to tell them that I overheard you, Connie, with the name of the box, please.
The name of the box? Jack in the Box? The pine box with the mountain scene and the evergreens. I mean, he couldn't have gone home to a better resting place than that box. So, anybody want to share a little something?
Well, I know we can get people out of jail.
You have anything further you'd like to add to that?
It was at a football game.
Uh-huh.
Maine and Bouve, Bouve and yeah, Maine. And before the we always stopped at the liquor store downtown. And this particular day, Jack and I walked in, and I bought a bottle, and he one of those little sipping bottles. And I went to put mine on the desk. He said, "I'd like to see your ID." I was 30-something years old with 5 kids. Jack started to laugh. He got Larry so hard he couldn't stand up. And I said, "Well, I haven't got an ID that shows that kind of age." And anyway, we went from there to the football game. And at halftime, I decided I had to relieve myself. We walked over to the place where you go down below and standing there. I came back up and I was standing there kind of leaning on the corner of the building. This car drives up, hits me and bumps me in the leg, almost pinned me to the wall. And this big guy gets out of it, and I'd had enough to drink, call him a nasty name. And he came at me. I know he was going to hit me, so before he could hit me, I whacked him. hit him. And then some people came along and broke it up. He went below upstairs. He came back up. By this time, everybody kind of got around, and Jack said, "Well, come on down." Jack was there. He said, "Come on downstairs. We'll clean you up. You're wrestling around here." He says, "It looks like you got a black eye." So we started down the stairs. And here's this other fellow coming up, and as he got at me, I punched him.
Oh, good.
We can see where this is going.
Local police came anyway, and we had a group called Mouse Factory. It was one of our get-togethers, and they were all around. And anyway, I was at that time. Jack was running for the Senate or the Senate or
House of Representatives.
The House, yeah. And he came over. And I said, "You better get out of here." I said, "They're putting me in the police car." I had my little thing, and I tried to give it to him, and a cop grabbed it. He said, "You going too?" Jack, and then my brother-in-law came along, and he was kind of mouthy, and he says, "You know who you're talking to there, mister?" And you too? So before I knew it, it looked like we were going to have this. Anyway, they drove me away to the police station and put me in jail. Because this fellow said he was going to press charges. Yeah. He was easily a 6'3" or something like big tall fellow. So anyway, next I did get out of jail that afternoon, and we continued our party, but I had to go to court the following Monday or something, Tuesday. I got a call from the judge. Said, "I've spoken to your mentor, and he tells me that this was just and he said, you needn't come in."
Oh.
Jack saved me. We did have a group of people that were called a Mouse Pack. And started with 3 couples. Jack and myself and Fran and Mary Saunders. And it grew from the 3 couples to about 12 or 13 couples over the years. and we would get together twice a year. We would have a organized get-together to go skiing or to play golf, one or the other.
Safaris, right?
And we had safaris. Depended what the thing was at a particular time. And this continued for 12 years. And in those days, you know, we didn't drink much wine, but we drank quite a liquor. And,
Yes, you did.
and in that period, with all the parties we'd have together, it was never a problem. Everybody got along well. Nobody was pinching somebody else's fanny or anything like that. It was great. But mainly because
Not even
Jack.
Not
even Jack?
Yeah, but not there.
And you're the only one left, right?
So yeah, we're down to the very few right now. It's just 3 of us left.
It was modeled after the Rat Pack.
Well,
For the mouse pack, Jack's mouse pack.
the way we got that, we were in Norway to one of our safaris. And, Norway, Maine.
Yeah.
And we were sitting around. We got to get a name for this place, and it was Sinatra has his Rat Pack, and I said, well, we could call this the Mouse Pack, and that's how it got started.
Cool. Anybody want to say anything? Grandchildren? Friends? Anything? Oh yeah, I'll read one that says, that kind of expresses what he meant to people. This was written on his last day by Annie MacMichael, who was a part of our family. And my dear Jack, I tearfully write this thinking of you in bed and being tired and wanting to go home. I want to tell you that I think of you every day and will always think of you every day. You have been such a special person in my life for as long as I can remember. So I think there are a lot of people here that would say that. I had many experiences and created wonderful memories that I would never have had but for you. You and Alice always welcomed me into your loving home, and I will be thankful for that and treasure you both as long as I live. Katahdin, Sugarloaf, skiing, snow, horseback riding, summer camp, Black Butte Ranch, just a few of the things for which to thank you. And of course, Randy, Connie, and Judy. Know when you close your eyes that you are very loved and feel me hugging you. I love you very much and will think of you always. So, I think that well expresses.
Yep.
So,
Gets this. Watch out for the wet leaves and the honey pots. And that is what I will always say. And so, Jack, drive slowly and carefully, and watch out for the wet leaves and the honey pot. None of us did. It was the blessing. Yeah.
Judy, one time he was taking all of us to Sugarloaf to go skiing, and my brother and I both went. And my mother said to him right before we left, now you drive carefully because all my eggs are in one basket. And all I remember is him driving along with his knees as his hands were waving around, and I've never forgotten it. My mother would have just died if she had known. But
Yeah, our mother thought we were going to die many times, actually.
My mother always said she was going to die with a mailbox.
because he drove so close, because the roads were narrow, and he wanted to give the other guy a room, so he hugged the shoulder, the passenger. I'll never forget her saying, Jesus, Jack! Yeah. But one other thing, every morning I'd go in to say, good morning, I'd say, how are you this morning? He'd say, I don't know yet. With a huge smile. So, all right.
Yes, and thank you so much from all of our hearts for being here.
what chocolate cake?
Huh?
Too many,
All right. Throw a rose or two.
Yours from here on.
So we can let's put some flowers in.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Watch out there.
Let's everybody put a flower in, yeah.
Good guy. Good guy.
Gonna put a flower in with Grandpa Jack?
Yep.
You want to put a flower in?
His influence spread far and wide.